Hello and welcome. My name is Scott Tiffney, Librarian and Director of Information Services here at the American Philatelic Research Library. In preparation for its launch date on Monday, February 1st, and by way of introducing our members and library patrons to the new platform for the David Straight Memorial Philatelic Union Catalog, the catalog that many of you use to access and request materials from the APRL, we have created a series of how-to tutorial videos that detail and explain various functions in the new platform of the online catalog. Our first video dealt with a brief introduction to the new platform for the David Straight Memorial Philatelic Union Catalog and was followed by a video detailing how to search the new online catalog, specifically how to create a basic search for materials in the online catalog, as well as how to conduct an advanced search. In this video, we will show you how to create and submit a library request to the APRL from the new online catalog. Whether you are submitting a request to borrow materials from the APRL collection, a request to purchase items from our surplus inventory of duplicate material, or if you are submitting a research request to the library. With that, let's get started. So here we are on the home page of the American Philatelic Society, and in order to find and conduct and submit a library request of the library, we would go under Services, and then we would select, by clicking on it, Library. And this takes us to the home page of the American Philatelic Research Library. If we scroll down the page, in the second section titled Accessing Our Library Collections, the first item in that section is titled Search Our Library Holdings Using the Online Catalog. In the link underneath Online Catalog, we click on that link, and on Monday, February 1st, it will take us to the new home of the David Straight Memorial Philatelic Union Catalog. In this video, I'm going to show you three different types of requests that you can make from the APRL using the online catalog. The first is going to be how to do a request when you wish to borrow materials from the APRL collection. That will be followed by how to go about doing a request when you're requesting items from our used books for sale inventory. And finally, we'll look at how to do a research request using the online catalog. So in order to go about requesting items for borrowing from the APRL collection using the online catalog, you can do two different types of requests. You can do a basic request here from the home page, and you can type your search terms in this text box at the top of the page, and then you can click search and find those items. So if I click search on those two terms, it will take us to this page. It will list our results here at the bottom of the page, and we can scroll through those results. What's important to remember, though, if you do a basic search from the home page, that you're going to have to narrow this search by the APRL. So this is going to give you a list of all the items with those two terms in the catalog, but not necessarily just those items in the APRL collection. So in order to narrow that search to just those items in the APRL collection, we would go on the left-hand side of the page and look for the subcategory titled Location. And we may have to click more to sort of find the APRL. And here we'll find the APRL. And in this little box beside APRL, we'll click on that to put a little check mark there. And then it will narrow this search and refine this search to just those items in the APRL collection. In order then to ask the library and request items in this list from the library, we'd scroll through the list, and if there's a particular item that we want to submit to the library for borrowing, we would put a little check mark beside. These little boxes beside these items is where you would select that item for borrowing. So I'll put a little check mark beside the one item that I want to borrow from the library. And the next thing, once we put that check mark in the box beside that, is we want to go up just above our list here is a link for Save to Book Bag. So I'll click on that link to save that item and put it in my book bag. It won't go anywhere, it won't go to the book bag. It'll just be in your book bag. If at any point you want to see what items are in your book bag, you can click on the tab here at the top, highlight it, and then click on My Book Bag. When I click on My Book Bag, there's that item that I put in my book bag for then to sort of send on as a request for borrowing. But before I do that, I also want to show you how you would do this in the advanced search function or page of the new online catalog. So I'm going to remove this item from my book bag for now, and I'm going to go to the advanced search page of the online catalog. Now here I'm going to look for that same item in using a different type of search, an advanced search. So here I would go across, and to make sure I'm only looking for items in the APRL collection, I'm going to select Library, and I'm going to select APRL from the drop-down list. I'm going to look in Title for the word Fundamentals, and I'm going to look in Author for Williams. Those are the two terms I used in the basic search I just did now. But this time, because I'm in the advanced search screen, if you will, I can search for just that item in the APRL collection. I'll go over here to the right of the page and click on the search function. And those items will appear, the items that are just in the APRL collection for borrowing will appear in the list below. So then again, as I did before, I'll put a check mark in the box there. And then I will submit that, save that to my book bag, clicking on that link. And again, I won't know if that's necessarily in my book bag, but all I have to do if I want to find that item in my book bag is at the top of the page, click My Book Bag, and there's that item. Now, in order to submit that item to the APRL for borrowing, I will put a check mark beside that item, and then click on this link at the top of the page here on the left, Submit Request. And when I click on that link, it takes me to the library request page in the online catalog. On the left-hand side of the page is a section titled Your Information. On the right-hand side of the page, there is a section titled Request Details. I'll do them each in order. On the Your Information side of the page, this is where you'll type in your particular contact information. The two fields that are mandatory before you can submit a request are the name field and the email field. We need both those items if we can properly process this request. So type in your full name in the name text box. Underneath that is address information. If you'd like to supply us with that as well, we would certainly appreciate that. And there's a line for street address, city, state or province, zip or postal code, and country. I mentioned earlier that the email field is necessary, so we need your email address in that field. Phone number. We'd also like, if you have an APRL member number or an APS member number, click on this box and put a check mark in that box. And then if you could put your APS number in there, if you know it, it would be great. It helps us with fulfilling this request. Underneath this is a really important item if you're asking for materials from the library and you're using those to be a judge at a philatelic show. So these items, the reason we like that information is that if you are a judge requesting judging materials, that tends to get a little bit more priority in the library. We like to fulfill those requests in a timely manner. So you would just put a check mark in that box beside where it says starting a stamp show judge. And then if you could put the name of the show underneath that, if it's CPEX or it's Colopex or if it's Garfield Perry, whatever the name of the show is, if you can put that show name in there. That also helps us with fulfilling the request. We have a schedule of the stamp shows. We know when you're going to need this material, how quickly you're going to need this material, and that helps us prioritize this particular request. On the left or the right-hand side of the page, under the request details section of this page, the first item, the first box or area has the item that you're requesting from us for borrowing. Underneath that is a request or text box area where you can give us a little more details about this request. If you want to, if there's a particular volume number you're looking for, or a particular edition, a particular year that it was published that you're looking for, something like that. If you want to add to the request to give us a little more details about the request, that's always helpful. Underneath that is where you can prioritize the test. The default is standard, or if this is a time-sensitive request or if it's urgent. We'd like to know that. We can't always fulfill every urgent request in as timely a manner as you may expect. We do try to do that with philatelic judging materials, but we will do our best if it's a really urgent request for, say, an article you're writing or a column you're writing or something like that. We'd like to know that information. And underneath the priority, there is an area where you can fill in a particular date that you absolutely need it by and time if you wish. So it also gives us an idea of, how to prioritize this request when we receive it. Finally, in the bottom of the request details section of this page, we have a text box area for reason for request. This is an entirely optional field. If you want to fill this in, this is great. The library staff here at the APRL are interested in why you're requesting something for the library. Not to make it in public information. It's really for information that we want to use to better sort of tailor our services and the requests that we receive, and to help us with sort of adding resources to the collection, to fulfilling requests in the future. So say, for example, this is a request just for your own personal research. If this is for a column that you're writing, if this is for an exhibit that you're about to put together, that's the type of information we wouldn't mind hearing about if possible. Once you're happy with all the information that you've put in both sides in your information section of the library request page, as well as the request details section of the page, you can go over here, and in order to send this request into the library, on the far right of the page, you'll see a link for save and exit. And that's the link you would click, and that will save that request into our database and send that on to us to then begin processing your request. You won't sort of see anything. It'll give you sort of a message that says it's been sent on and it's been saved, and then that's how we know that this is a request that's been sent in to us. If you filled out all the information but you've changed your mind, you can always hit the cancel request here on the far right side of the page as well, and that would cancel the request. I'm going to do that now because I'm not going to send this request in the library. It will give us an error message that says, are you okay with not saving this request and sending it to the library? And you click OK. And it'll send you back to the previous page. So I'm just going to sort of remove this item from my book bag for now and show you the next type of request that you can make of the library, and that's when you're requesting items for purchase from our used books inventory. And in order to do that, we would scroll across the top of the page again and highlight used books for sale, the tab for that. This will immediately take us to a list of all the materials in our inventory that are for sale, that we're putting out for sale. And you can scroll through this list if you want to sort of just highlight things this way or select them this way. You can put a check mark in the box beside any of these items, and you can go through the whole list. You can scroll through different pages of the list here across the top, and then just put a check mark beside those items you'd like to send in to have us then pull for you to then purchase. Another way that you can sort of look for items in the used books for sale inventory is to to conduct a search here at the top of the page. This is a text box for putting in your search terms. I've already put two terms in there, letters and Rainier. One's a title of this particular item, and one is the author's name. When you do a search in the duplicates inventory and you put terms here, it'll look in really 4 different fields in the record. So it'll look in the author field, the title field, the notes field, and the keyword field. So that's really what you're searching when you're searching for terms in the duplicates inventory. Once you're happy with those terms that you've put in here, you click search, and the items that reflect your search terms will appear in a list below. I knew this particular item was here in the inventory, so if I'm happy and this is the item that I want to then request from the library for purchase, I would put a little check mark beside the item, and I would save that to my book bag. And again, I can go back and do for another search once I'm into the database and sort of add items as needed. Once I'm happy with all the items I've selected, I just have to remember once I do searches and I put check marks that I should save those to my book bag. It won't automatically save those to your book bag simply because you put a check mark beside the item. You have to save it to your book bag. So once I'm happy with all the items that I've saved with my book bag, I can look in my book bag here by highlighting the tab across the top of the page, click on my book bag. And in order to see the items in my book bag that I want to purchase from the library, I would go over here on the left-hand side, just underneath where it says my book bag. And there's two items in that list, catalog or inventory. Catalog is for items that you put into your book bag that you want to borrow. When you want to see what items you put in your book bag from our duplicate inventory, you click on inventory. And there's the item that I put in my book bag for purchasing from the library. I would again put a check mark in the box beside the title of that item. And in order to submit that to the library for purchase, I would then click on the link, submit request. And again, it will take me to this library request page that we just saw in our previous example. We'd have to fill in our information here, our contact information here, fill in our request details. The item will automatically appear in the request details section of the page. If there's any further information that you want to add, how you're going to go about paying for this, or details about, hey, do you have another copy of this in the inventory? Let me know. Things like that that you may want to put in underneath the item here on the request details side of the page. I don't think you'll have to worry about priority information when you're submitting an item for purchase, but you can certainly add that material, that information if you want. Reason for the request: when you're submitting a request for purchasing material, we don't necessarily need the reason why you're purchasing this item. If you want to put that info in there, that's great. Hey, I'm a collector of Confederate material. You could say something like, hey, if you get future items of Confederate literature, let me know. Or I'm a Confederate collector as a reason for the request. Once you're happy with all this information and it's been filled out, you would do as you did in the previous request and then hit save and exit. Now I'm going to show you the final type of request that you can submit to the library, and that's a research request. So if I go back to the home page, you can at any time and on any page in the online catalog submit a request for research. And that link here is right at the top here, right beside, to the left-hand side of where it says the David Strait Memorial Philatelic Union Catalog. You can click on the link that says Submit Request. And you hit that link, and this is where you would submit your request to the library for a research request. So same page as we just saw earlier. It's a little different than in terms of how it looks, but all the same information is here, so that you would fill out your contact information here, keeping in mind that we need your name and email at the minimum. And then on the left, right-hand side of the page under request details, this is where you would provide information about how or what it is particularly that you want us to research, and as many details as you can provide, the better. It's always good to have as much information as possible. Keep in mind also that on the left-hand side of the page, when you're putting in contact information, this is how we're going to respond to you. We will definitely respond to you if you have an email, if you have a phone number. This helps us contact you in case there is further information that we need in order to fulfill this request. So that was a quick look at how to submit 3 different types of library requests in the new platform of the David Strait Memorial Philatelic Union Catalog, specifically how to submit requests to the APRL for borrowing materials, obtaining items for sale from our duplicate inventory, and finally for research. In the future, we will present further video tutorials explaining still more features of the new online catalog. With that, thank you for watching, and thank you for your ongoing support of the American Philatelic Research Library.